Welcome back to Trending Kidbits. Today, we're going to be exploring something kind of ancient and trendy at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
The Yogi Diet.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I have. It's also known as the satvic diet in Ayurveda.
Right. And we had a listener write in who is curious about it. Does this ancient approach to eating
Yeah,
really hold up
right.
to modern science?
Yeah.
And can it really influence, like, your mood?
It's such a fascinating question, and I think it takes us right to the heart of Ayurveda.
Okay.
Understanding how the choices we make, including what we eat,
Yeah.
impact our well-being.
So could you give us a quick breakdown?
Yeah.
For those of us who haven't, spent our weekends studying ancient wellness practices,
Of course.
what is the Yogi Diet?
Absolutely. The Yoga diet, or the satvic diet, as it's known in Ayurveda, is all about consuming foods considered pure and balanced.
Okay.
So, imagine a plate
Yeah.
filled with fresh fruits and vegetables,
Mhm.
sprouted grains,
Oh,
nuts, maybe some cow's milk or curd or honey.
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, the idea is that these foods provide a sense of lightness and clarity,
Okay.
both physically and mentally.
But so how does this tie into mood? Like, where's that connection?
That's where the concept of the trigunas comes into play.
Okay.
It's one of the core principles of Ayurveda. There are 3 gunas,
Mm-hmm.
sattva, rajas, and tamas. And each one represents a different quality of energy.
Okay.
So sattva is associated with tranquility and mental well-being, calm, clear, peaceful.
Yeah.
Then there's rajas, which is about passion and activity, that driven go-getter energy.
Yeah.
And finally, we have tamas,
Mhm.
which represents inertia and negativity,
Okay.
feeling sluggish, heavy, or stuck.
So the Yogi Diet is aiming for that sattva energy,
Exactly.
for a calmer, clearer mind.
Precisely.
Okay.
By emphasizing sattvic foods, the idea is to nourish those qualities of peace and mental clarity.
Interesting.
And there are even ancient texts, like the Mahanarayana Upanishad,
Right.
suggesting that a sattvic diet can increase lifespan to 150 years.
Wow. 150 years.
Yeah,
That's serious commitment to your veggies.
right.
But putting the longevity claims aside,
Yeah.
is there actually any scientific evidence to back this up?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
That's where things get really interesting. Let's start with what modern research tells us about diet and mood.
Perfect. Let's dive into the science.
One of the most exciting areas of research is the gut microbiome,
Okay.
that incredible ecosystem of microorganisms living in our digestive tracts. And it's becoming increasingly clear that the health of our gut plays a significant role in our mental and emotional well-being.
Right. We've all heard about the gut-brain connection,
Yeah.
but how does that actually work?
Well, the food we eat directly impacts the balance of bacteria in our gut.
Okay.
And when we consume a diet rich in fiber, like those fruits, vegetables, and whole grains that are so central to the yogi diet,
Right.
it creates this flourishing environment for beneficial gut bacteria.
Interesting.
And these good bacteria, in turn, produce compounds that can influence our brain chemistry and impact our mood.
So the Yogi Diet's focus on those whole plant-based foods could set us up for, like, a happier, healthier gut.
Right.
And that sends positive signals to the brain.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, there's this emerging research exploring the potential negative impacts of certain foods on mood.
Oh, okay.
For example, some studies have suggested a possible link between meat consumption
Okay.
and depression.
Huh.
So more research is needed to fully understand this relationship.
So it's not just about adding the good foods,
Right.
but being mindful of,
Yeah.
like the ones that could be working against us mood-wise.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this is where the yogi diet's distinction between satvic, rajasic, and tamasic foods comes into play.
Okay, yeah. Remind me what those are again.
So while sattvic foods are seen as promoting balance and clarity, rajasic and tamasic foods are thought to have the opposite effect.
Okay, so what kind of foods are we talking about in each of those?
So think of rajasic foods
Okay.
as those that stimulate and excite.
Okay.
Spicy chilies, coffee, heavily processed foods, even chocolate would fall into that category.
Okay.
They might provide like a temporary burst of energy,
Yeah.
but can also lead to restlessness, agitation,
Right.
or difficulty focusing.
Okay.
And tamasic foods
Mm-hmm.
are those considered heavy, dulling, or even slightly toxic.
Gotcha.
Examples might be overly processed or fried foods, alcohol,
Mhm.
or even leftovers
You just
that have been reheated multiple times.
okay.
And these foods are thought to contribute to lethargy,
Oh,
negativity, and a feeling of heaviness, both physically and mentally.
it's almost like imagining your diet as a lever
Yeah.
that can shift your mood.
Mhm.
So the yogi diet is saying, okay, if you lean toward those sattvic foods,
Yeah.
you're tilting that lever towards calmness and clarity.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it really highlights how this ancient approach to eating emphasizes the connection between food and our overall state of being.
So we're seeing some potential alignment here
Yeah.
between what the yogi diet suggests
Yeah.
and what modern science is finding out about the gut-brain connection
Right.
and how different foods can affect mood.
Exactly.
But are there any aspects of the yogi diet that don't necessarily hold up to, scientific scrutiny?
Yeah, that's an important question and one that we should definitely explore.
Okay.
So while there's a growing body of research
Yeah.
supporting the link between diet and mood,
Right.
the yogi diet itself hasn't really been rigorously studied in a
Right.
way that would satisfy modern scientific standards.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's like some promising overlap between what Ayurveda recommends and what research is showing, but there's still a lot we don't know about the yogi diet specifically.
Exactly. A lot of the claims around the yogi diet are based on traditional knowledge
Right.
and anecdotal evidence.
Okay.
And while that's valuable, it doesn't always translate directly into the kind of controlled studies that scientists would use to really determine cause and effect.
So how do we reconcile that? It seems like there's a lot of interest in this diet,
Yeah.
but not a lot of hard proof.
Right. I think that highlights a really important point when we're navigating
Okay.
the world of wellness and nutrition.
Yeah.
It's so essential to be both open-minded and critical.
Right.
We can be curious about these ancient practices and learn from them,
Yeah.
while also recognizing the importance of scientific validation.
That's a great point. So for our listener who's intrigued by the yogi diet,
Yeah.
where does that leave them?
Right.
Should they just wait for more research before even considering it?
Not necessarily. Remember that the yogi diet encourages a way of eating that's generally considered healthy, right?
Regardless of whether every specific claim is, scientifically proven,
Yeah.
increasing your intake of fruits and vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
choosing fresh foods over processed ones,
Okay.
and really paying attention to how different foods make you feel.
Yeah.
These are all positive steps, even outside the context of Ayurveda.
It's about those core principles of healthy eating
Yeah,
and just incorporating them in a way that feels right.
exactly.
Mhm.
And if someone wants to experiment with incorporating more satvic foods into their diet,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of taking it step by step.
Okay.
Maybe start by just adding a few more servings of fruits and vegetables each day,
Okay.
or exploring new whole grains. It's not about being perfect or adhering to rigid rules.
Yeah.
It's about making gradual, sustainable changes that support overall well-being.
I love that. It's about finding what works for you
Exactly.
and listening to your body.
Yes.
And of course, as with any significant dietary changes,
Yes.
it's always wise to consult with a healthcare professional.
Absolutely. They can help kind of personalize your approach
Mhm.
and make sure it aligns with your needs and goals.
Exactly.
This has really got me thinking about how much I take for granted.
Oh, yeah.
The connection between food and my mood.
Yeah.
I know when I eat junk food, I feel sluggish, my focus is off.
Right.
But I've never thought about it in terms of these different qualities of energy
Yeah.
that Ayurveda describes.
Right.
It's like a whole new lens to view my choices through.
I think that's one of the most powerful things about these traditional systems like Ayurveda.
Yeah.
It can open up new ways of understanding our bodies
Ah.
and how our choices impact us.
Right.
Even if we don't fully adopt every principle, it can encourage us to be more mindful and intentional
Yeah.
about what we consume and how it makes us feel.
So zooming out a bit from the yogi diet,
Yeah.
what can we say about the validity of Ayurvedic practices as a whole,
That's a great question.
especially around the recommendations on diet and behavior?
What's so fascinating about Ayurveda is that it's a system of medicine that's been practiced for thousands of years.
Right.
It's based on this deep understanding of the interconnectedness
Yeah.
of mind, body, and spirit,
Right.
and emphasizes living in harmony with nature.
And so much of what Ayurveda advocates for
Yeah.
aligns with, like, current wellness trends,
Right.
mindfulness,
Yeah.
stress reduction,
Yeah.
connecting with nature,
Yes, absolutely.
listening to our bodies.
Exactly. And even if specific practices might not have like rigorous scientific backing yet,
Right.
that underlying philosophy of promoting balance and harmony within yourself is so valuable.
It's shifting from a disease-centric model to a wellness-centric one,
Right.
focusing on preventative measures and lifestyle choices
Yes.
that support well-being.
Precisely. I think that's a key takeaway for our listeners today.
Yeah.
Whether or not they fully embrace the yogi diet, adopting the Ayurvedic mindset of balance and self-awareness can be so beneficial for their mental and physical health.
It's a more holistic approach, recognizing that our diet, our behaviors, our environment, our mental state,
Yeah.
they're all interconnected.
Yeah, it's about seeing that bigger picture.
Right.
And understanding that true well-being comes from nurturing all aspects of ourselves.
And in a world that's constantly pushing us to go, go, go,
Yeah.
that emphasis on balance and slowing down feels so important.
I completely agree. Sometimes, the simplest and most ancient wisdom can offer the most profound insights
Right.
for navigating modern life.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how these principles, balance and harmony,
Right.
that Ayurveda emphasizes, have been around for centuries.
Yeah.
And they still feel so relevant.
It really does speak to that enduring wisdom of these ancient traditions,
Right.
They offer such a timeless perspective on well-being that transcends cultural boundaries.
Yeah.
And it speaks to something really fundamental about, like, the human experience.
So bringing it all back to our listener's original question,
Yeah.
what can we definitively say about the yogi diet?
Right.
Does it hold up to scientific scrutiny?
I mean, while some aspects of it do align with what we're learning about nutrition and mood,
Okay.
the scientific evidence specifically for the yogi diet is still limited.
Gotcha.
We need more research to fully understand its effects.
But even without that definitive proof, it seems like there's a lot of potential value in at least exploring those principles behind it.
Absolutely. The emphasis on whole, unprocessed foods,
Right.
the mindful approach to eating,
Yeah.
the awareness of how different foods make us feel, these are all valuable takeaways regardless of whether, every claim about the yogi diet is scientifically validated.
It's about taking that ancient wisdom
Right.
and, like, applying it in the way that makes sense
Exactly.
for our modern lives and our individual needs.
And I think that's such an important point to emphasize.
Oh.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to well-being.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
We all have different bodies, different lifestyles, different preferences.
It's really about, like, finding what nourishes you, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And being open to exploring, different approaches.
Yeah.
Like the yogi diet. But doing it with a curious and discerning mind.
That's the perfect attitude to have.
Okay.
It's about being an active participant in your own well-being journey.
Right.
And, not being afraid to experiment and see what works best for you.
So maybe that means incorporating some of those satvic principles into your diet.
Yeah.
Or just being more mindful of how food choices are impacting your mood and energy.
Precisely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where ancient wisdom and modern science intersect and using that knowledge to empower yourself to make choices that support your well-being.
This has been such a fascinating exploration.
It has.
I feel like I've learned so much, not just about the yogi diet, but about Ayurveda as a whole. And the power of taking that holistic approach to health and well-being.
It's been such a pleasure diving into this topic with you.
Yes, likewise.
And I hope, our listener has come away with a deeper understanding of the yogi diet, the complexities of food and mood, and the importance of finding what works best for them on their own wellness journey.
Huge thank you to our listener for inspiring this trending Kidbits adventure.
Yes.
We hope you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
And that it sparked a little curiosity.
Yes.
To explore further.
Keep exploring.
Until next time, keep those minds curious, those bodies nourished, and those spirits bright.